This show is part of the Thrill Me Podcast Network. Experience more on Facebook and YouTube.
Hey! All right, we're recording. All right, let's do this. Hey, everybody. Welcome into the Hockey Show Podcast, back from our Thanksgiving break because I suck with time. My name is Nick.
And I'm John. We got a lot to dive into. There's a lot of things we got to talk about. There's a lot of things we got to know. Very top of the list, Nick, what was it like to see Billy Joel play at Madison Square Garden?
Okay, so thank you for that. I didn't know that's where we were going to start since we have so much drama in the NHL.
Top of my list. Top of my list was Billy Joel. I don't know about you.
All right, well, I'm just going to start this by saying that was everything and more than I had dreamed it could be. I legit, as a Long Island kid growing up, Billy Joel is like just kind of you come out as a child and you're pretty much singing Uptown Girl, New York State of Mind, all of it. The Stranger, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm moving out, Mom, I'm gonna go work at the grocery store. I'm saving my pennies for someday. But dude, no, seriously, like, joking aside, getting to see him at Madison Square Garden was just like the coolest experience because it's New York City and it's a hometown crowd. It's we're in the countdown now of single digits for how many shows he has left at the Garden for his residency that's been going on for like a decade now. But that was so cool.
Oh, I didn't know he had a residency.
Once a month for like the last 12 years, outside of the COVID crap, of course. He's been doing the show there. So I don't know where the number's at. I have to look at the photo that I got of the Billy Joel banner. That's near the Rangers stuff.
That's what I was going to ask about.
Yeah. But dude, Madison Square Garden is just electric to begin with. But what I really want to say right now is that's the first time I've been to Madison Square Garden since the current general manager of the New York Rangers was still playing for that team.
Oh,
that's how long it's been since I've been to the Garden. Marian Gaborik scored a goal against the Buffalo Sabres at my Ranger game at MSG. God. So over the last however long it's been, because it was the last year before the first phase of the renovations that I went to the Garden. So I haven't been there since any of the renovations because I've been going to Washington. And then Washington got really good and started charging like $100 and something for the nosebleed. So I started to go into Carolina where it was like $30 on secondary sites to go to see a game and sit like up against the glass because they were so bad. But then they got good, which made them expensive. I've been to Detroit to the old Joe Louis Arena to see a Rangers game with you at one of our old other fraternity brothers.
And February.
In February, I joked with you because I was looking at the tickets. So we were looking. I was always monitoring all the tickets.
What's the joke?
I don't know if it's going to be a joke actually, because the governor of my state just sent me a check for, I guess, being a lovely resident or something. I don't know. People got a tax refund from our governor all of a sudden. Like, he just sent people money. So I got a little extra bucks from him. But the joke that I had made to you that is somewhat serious because I was monitoring Billy Joel, I was monitoring New York Knicks, and I was monitoring the Rangers because you had Billy Joel Wednesday, then Thanksgiving, then the Knicks were playing on Friday night, and I was going to be in the city Friday for Wicked. And then Saturday, the Rangers were playing that game against the Bruins, which we'll talk about. Something happened in that game we got to talk about in a little bit. The Ranger tickets kept going up in price to where it would have been almost $700 for both me and the wife to go see that game. Billy Joel, mind you, cost us no more than $360 combined, and where we sat for that show aren't even seats. They were the added on seats. So we would have, if it's a hockey game, we would have been standing in front of the glass on the ice. We were technically on the ice area. Like,
that's incredible.
It was so cool that I was like, oh my God, I've never been here in MSG.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why we didn't go to the Ranger game. That's why we did Billy Joel instead, because it was like,
dude, I would have made that decision 10 times out of 10.
So the joke with you is I'm probably going to come to Columbus in February because it would have been cheaper. And this was weeks prior. This was like a month prior to what the tickets were, day before and day of the Ranger Bruins game. I joked with you where I was like, it's cheaper for me to buy a round trip ticket out of Norfolk, Virginia, fly to Columbus, stay with you for just a night, but fly in day of Blue Jackets Rangers game, go to the game, and then fly back the next day and make it to work.
And it'll be cheaper than MSG.
The entire thing, just for one ticket to have gotten into MSG. That was before I would have had to buy a second ticket. That just would have been for one ticket to get into MSG. I could buy a round trip ticket from Norfolk to Columbus, go to a hockey game, and honest to God, because I wouldn't have to pay for a place to stay, thankfully, because I have a friend that lives there.
Yeah.
It still probably would have been cheaper even to pay for my own drink and food along the way. Like, it is asinine that they cost that much to go to a sporting event. It is asinine.
And I would imagine it probably isn't $700 for every Saturday Rangers game, but a ton of people had family in town were trying to go.
Holiday weekend,
so
original six, ended up being a battle for best points percentage in the league. So there was a lot of things that started going against me on that, as opposed to the Rangers coming to Columbus to take on a Blue Jackets team that's pretty much battling for draft lottery this year again. Because Johnny Gaudreau went there to make things better instead of wanted to be home close to Jersey, but went to Columbus.
How do you add Johnny Gaudreau and get worse? I don't understand.
Columbus. I'm sorry to the one Blue Jackets fan that listens. Like, maybe it's the canon.
We have people that listen. Okay, so
but
we weren't gonna
No, go. What would
I was gonna say this wasn't on our list, but I know I had it as something to potentially talk about this week. Like, how has that? Like, the Sharks, teams like that, like, we knew we're going to be bad. We're actively trying to be bad. The Blue Jackets weren't trying to be bad. How has this happened?
I think it's really just kind of Columbus. I think there's a lot of things wrong there. They tried to shore up the blue line, but it's goaltending isn't that great there. The coach situation, maybe if the previous coach didn't want to look at everybody's phone and see what type of man they were, maybe you'd have a better situation. You got kind of thrown into a weird, right as the season started. I mean, actually, I should say before the season even started, as you're gearing up to kind of start ramping up for the season, you're going through an entire change. So everything just switched on the dime. I think that's what happened there. I've said it before. I've said it last year on the show. I want Columbus to work. I want these markets to work. I hate the fact that Columbus has had such a tough go of it since they came into the league and we're in weird time zones and weird start times. And then kind of all of that, the same thing with Detroit, where it's really weird, jumbled, it's tough to build a fan base. And then the struggle of never winning a first round series until you knock off the Lightning in fake year, but you knock off the Lightning.
Ryan Lambert said the winning that series was the worst thing to happen to the Blue Jackets. And at first I'm like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. That doesn't make any sense. But the more I thought about it, I was like, oh man, he might actually.
Yeah. So I think that's what happened there. But circling back to MSG and Billy Joel for a second. Billy played from 8:20 to 11 o'clock. So he went for almost 3 hours, man.
Any opener?
No opener. Just right into Billy. Billy came out. The times that he did breaks, it was he was still sitting at the piano engaging, but every single member of his band got a moment. So his guitar player got to sing some Zeppelin and play Good Times, Bad Times. Everybody kind of got a moment to do a thing. The bass player did Lion Sleeps Tonight. So it was kind of they added some medleys of other people's tunes. It was funny to watch Billy Joel, though, sing Start Me Up and dance around like Mick Jagger, because he was like, I'm no Mick Jagger. And then they did the boom, boom, boom. And he was like, really? And then they kept going, and he was like, well, if you stop me up. And then started kind of dancing around. And I was like, oh, look at 70-year-old Billy Joel trying so hard to be Mick Jagger, but 80-year-old Mick Jagger looks so much
That's
better
funny.
than that moving around on stage. But yeah, awesome time. And the Garden, dude, the renovations at the Garden, having not been there, I'm kind of peeved I didn't get to see a Ranger game there, because it's just the atmosphere there for Billy Joel reminded me of the atmosphere of Knicks and Rangers games, where there's that pulse of the Garden that's going on the entire time. But dude, though, like what they did on the inside now, like in the concourse area when you're out there, they've got. I took a photo of it. I don't know if you saw it, but they have like moments of MSG history up now. So they had like the photo of the banner raising in '95 after the lockout in January, of like the Rangers raised their Stanley Cup banner. Richter named the All-Star MVP at the Garden in '94. Hulk Hogan defeats the Iron Sheik to begin Hulkamania, like on this date at the Garden. And then they have, like in Washington with the Capitals, like how they have those like, oh god, what am I'm trying to think of what it actually is, but where they have their memorabilia. There we go. Where they have their memorabilia out.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They have the same thing there. So like there was boxing gloves from Ali Frazier at the Garden. There was Patrick Ewing's practice jersey was hanging up with a bust of him doing the V that he did in the I forgot, I want to say it was '94, but the playoff 3-point play that he made against the Celtics, and he put up a big V. It might have been '91 actually. Either way, but like they had those moments. They had Ranger stuff up as well. So I was like, cool, like because going to the old Joe, you had monuments in there, baby. You had that memorabilia was all there. So it was really like, I was like, it's good that the Rangers finally, and the Knicks and the New York team leaned into their history that they're oh so proud to talk about, but never had on display.
Yeah, that's cool that they're able to put that up there, because that was something that really stood out to me for Little Caesars Arena was they have like memorabilia from like wrestling shows that were at the Joe, or like cool. Piston stuff and Red Wing stuff. That's just kind of like its own little mini museum almost as part of the concourse. And I thought that was a nice touch. And they brought over all the monuments and statues and stuff that.
Yeah. I gotta get to a game there. Hell, it would probably be I don't know, Detroit's getting good again, but it would probably be cheaper still right now. But yeah, that was my takeaway from that trip back home for the holidays is hockey games are really freaking expensive in New York, and I should have looked at the Islanders. I didn't even think to look. Past USB Arena, actually, on the way leaving. No, because so some props to the Islanders on this. The Long Island Railroad has a stop for USB on the Trendepenn station. So when we were going in for Billy Joel, Hannah was busting my chops when we were at the Ronkonkoma station, because here come all these Islander fans in their Barzell jerseys and all of their stuff, and they got their beers and stuff, and I've got my bag beer ready to go for the train, and they've just walking out. There was some chick that walked up with a 6-pack of Michelob Ultra, already missing a bottle, no bag for her beers, and I was like, okay, she's gonna have fun tonight. But props to them, because they said that they wanted to add the train stop to help the Long Island crowd get to the games. But when we drove and we were leaving and coming back to Virginia, we went the Verrazano Bridge, so we went through Staten Island, which means we had to pass Belmont, and we drove right past USB Arena, and it is gorgeous, dude. It was gorgeous.
Nice.
Like Hannah had to deal with me for like the next 20 minutes, just being like, way to go. I'm very happy because again, I want it to be known. I know some Islander fans listen, but I want it to be known. I was one of the fighters of, I don't want the Islanders to leave. You need the Islanders on Long Island.
Can confirm.
Yes, I've always backed that. I love it when they fail. As a Rangers fan, I love it when they fail.
But we didn't necessarily love Barclays Arena.
Yeah, it was that I didn't want. I didn't want the mausoleum again. I didn't, the Coliseum had its day. It's a mausoleum for a reason now. But USB, dude, that arena looked so good from the outside. And it is right off the highway. So it is very easy to get to that arena if you want to drive to a game on the island.
I'm sure we won't hear anyone having anything to say about New York traffic. Speaking of things that happen in New York, Nick, you want to tell us about a captain of a certain New York hockey
Oh, you
team?
want to jump? We can start with him. Yeah, we can start there.
Yeah.
Let's start with. I mean, we've got so much. Yeah, we've got so much to talk about this week. We'll talk Corey Perry in a moment, Patrick Kane, all that stuff. The Minnesota Wild are on the agenda this week. But yeah, let's start with, I guess, the Trouba situation since you brought it up. Ranger captain Jacob Trouba fined $5,000, which is the maximum allowed under the NHL's collective bargaining agreement for a high-sticking infraction against Bruins forward Trent Frederick. Trouba addressed this. I do want to say Trouba addressed this the other day. Said he's taken the fine, obviously, wants to move on, but did say he has to be better, that he didn't have control of his stick, and his job as a hockey player is to always have control of your stick. But before I really get into my thoughts on this, I'm curious what your thought was after you saw the play.
I liked what Trouba had to say about it in the sense that you always like to see someone take responsibility for something, say, hey, I screwed up, I have to do better. Are you familiar with multiverse theory, Nick, where there's multiple different universes with an infinite number of possibilities?
I've seen Avengers Endgame. I've been watching the Phase 4 Marvel stuff, so yeah. I haven't finished Loki season 2 yet, but I know,
Yeah, well, I bring it up because according to that theory, there's an infinite number of different universes with an infinite number of different possibilities. There's a universe where I'm the Rangers fan and you're the Red Wings fan. There's a universe where I live in Virginia and you live in Vancouver. Like, there's all sorts of infinite possibilities. There are precisely 0 universes where Trouba didn't do that on purpose.
Oh, you think that was on purpose?
Absolutely. Are you kidding me?
Okay, I actually don't think it was on purpose. It
wasn't an accident.
I do think it was an accident. I think it was 2 guys that started jostling. I've seen 2 different versions of the clip. I did see the one where he does have control, where Frederick has his hand on the stick. And I think that's where it comes into play. I think at that point, Trouba's doing more of a swing to get the hand off and swings forward and catches him and kind of does a oops. I don't think it was as intentional as, say, following a player around the ice and then taking a baseball swing at his head. Because he didn't, the way that his hands were on the stick was he was still just holding his stick. He didn't, put 2 hands together and take it.
Yeah, he didn't, choke up and lean into it. Yeah.
So,
but
I think he went for a slash and caught him in the head. I don't think he wanted the head, though. I think he wanted the body.
Okay.
So I think it was. I think there was intent, but not that intent.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get crushed as a homer here.
Yeah. To me, it looked like he very intentionally went to hit him there, but we all get a little worked up on the ice. I have a lot of time for someone when they admit they screwed up, So for Trouba to be like, oh yeah, I absolutely deserve this fine. Like, it's hard to be mad at him. It's hard to be happy with the idea that an attempted decapitation gets a $5,000 fine, but that's not, necessarily on Jacob Trouba or any of them, really, because the entire problem for that comes down to collective bargaining agreement. The players have no reason to allow their fines to get higher, and I don't think it makes that much of the difference to the NHL, except as a potential bargaining chip in a labor negotiation. So I don't see this changing necessarily as far as the maximum $5,000 fine for it. I thought it should have been a suspension for sure. I was really skeptical when something happened to the Red Wings that we'll get to, and I kind of said, well, they just gave $5,000 for Jacob Trouba, so I don't think anything's going to happen here. So it kind of has a knock-on effect what you think of the Department of Player Safety when you see stuff like that. But
I do agree with you that I was surprised there wasn't a suspension because I was listening to the game as far as I could on the way back because we had left on Saturday early. So
Hmm.
unfortunately, I lost the game before this happened. I lost the game like pretty early on in the
Gotcha.
second period. It was still 3-3 when I
Yeah.
started getting and I was like, I can't do it. I want to stick with this. I'm hoping I can get it, but I can't. Too close to Philly now. I'm getting Philly sports stations. Like I don't want to listen to a Flyers game. So when I did see it, the first thing I thought was I rewatched them multiple times because I was like, why did he do that? And then I was like, oh, maybe he didn't intentionally do that. Maybe it was kind of and I started breaking it down. But in my head, I felt he was getting, since there was no penalty called on it, I was like, he's getting maximum 5 games for this. He's getting a suspension. Something is coming. He's getting 5. He'll protest it. It'll get knocked down to like 2. So he's going to miss 2 games. Okay, he's going to miss the Sabres game, which ended up being a trap game for the Rangers. So that's fine. It wouldn't have mattered. But he's going to miss the Red Wings game. Oh, no, that's a big one now. I was very shocked that it was only a fine. I really was. I do want to say, though, I don't know if you saw Ken Campbell on X.
No, I did not.
He proceeded to claim that Trouba deserved a 25-game suspension, if not more, for what he did. And just kind of kept going off and then proceeded to do that. I wonder if Ranger fans still feel that Peros and player safety isn't good and blah, 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 because, there's plenty.
I just went to Google it. I have that tweet in front of me now. I wonder if the New York Rangers still believe George the Violent Gentleman Peros is still, quote, unfit to continue his current role now that their captain's been fined $5,000 for taking a baseball swing / at an opponent's head. He should have received 25 games.
Well, one, Ken, because I have
it doesn't need to be either.
And this is, yes. And well, this is my thing. Ken Campbell, who I know is not going to hear this, but F him. I hope one of you cuts it and sends it to him. That was not 25 games suspension worthy. There's no injury to that. There was no player that had to leave the ice because of that. It was a missed call. It should have been a game misconduct in the game. It should have been a 5-minute major. And then the fine would be, okay, fine. The fact that there was no suspension, I'll agree. That's egregious. But that also proves that he is not fit to be the fucking head of this. Because there should have been a suspension. So yes, as a Ranger fan, he is still unfit.
Yeah, I got you. I'm hesitant to roast George Peros too much because going through our lifetimes, I think we only liked one person that in the Department of Player Safety role, and it was Brendan Shanahan, and even then we didn't always like him.
But I like Shanahan
it was a hard job, and the violent gentleman thing is something I have a problem with as well. But yeah, there's that you can look at that and say, oh yeah, that should have been more than that was without it being 25 games. And even if it was going to be 25 games, you have to have an in-person hearing or be offered an in-person hearing at least for anything over 5 or 6, I want to say. So there will have been a lot more opportunity for him to tell his side of the story with it and kind of take it from there. But like I said, the fact that he just straight up says is like, that was dumb of me. I need to do better at that. It's like, all right, you can't. It's hard to get worked up over it at that point.
It is. So it's funny that is the first tweet that you saw though, because that the minute I saw that, I've been getting riled up on things I see on social media a lot lately. That was one of the ones that got me to a level of where I was like, oh, I'm actually ready to respond to this guy and go off on Campbell right now. Like, because if anything, it proved again that this might not be the best guy for the job. He let a guy get away with that and didn't hand out a suspension. And like you mentioned, he did end up handing out a suspension. Let me see where it is. Ryan Hartman got a 2-game suspension for slew-footing Alex DeBrincat.
Yeah, given the situation, I was surprised.
Yeah, by that. Which, I mean, both of them are dangerous. Both of them impact the head. Both of them are those types of plays. So again, like I said, I thought Trouba was going to get a 5-game suspension, appeal, and it would be 2. You see, Hartman got 2 for slew footing. I do have an issue with slew footing because, as I've seen with PK Subban plenty of times, it injures players, and it is very, very dangerous. Yeah. And it's a very sneaky play. It's a lot sneakier than hitting somebody in the head with a stick. Like, that can be seen. A slew foot you can get away with trying to end somebody's career with that.
Yeah, and prior to this, Ryan Hartman had been fined for slew footing or tripping twice. He's been fined 6 times altogether, so this certainly isn't his first rodeo in this situation. But yeah, like it's not something that I saw. Like, I don't think there was a penalty on it. I know there wasn't. It was Moritz Seider attempted to police it himself. In a sense, and kind of went after Hartman later in the game, but it didn't quite get to the point of dropping the gloves. But yeah, part of you wants to give Hartman a little bit of leniency, just given that they'd lost like 7 in a row at that point. So things not going great for the Wild.
No, they're not. And you know what? Why don't we just stick with the Wild for this?
I feel like that's a good way to do it.
Because they're not going good. As you mentioned, the 2-game suspension, but this team is just in a downfall right now. They've lost 13 of their past 16 games, and that means that not only did they lose Hartman for the 2-game suspension, but they've decided to fire their coach, Dean Evison. He's out as they continue to nosedive. So is the assistant, Bob Woods, who was more of like the defensive coach for them. And now we know that John Hines, former Devils and Predators coach, is taking over because he knows Bill Guerin. That's essentially why. This is the most underwhelming
he also knows ratio
pick ever.
He also knows ratio.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that was something that got pointed out a lot, is that there's, potentially much better coaching available. Doesn't necessarily mean they were able to get it though. Yeah. If I had just been fired from the Edmonton Oilers and I don't want to develop the reputation of being a loser coach, and I turn around and I see this Minnesota Wild team, I'm not necessarily diving in with both feet, right?
No, I'm not. But I did find, but that was the first thing I thought was, you're going to tell me John Hines is the best coach for this position, that this is the best guy? Like, okay, I get it. I guess he's a defensive-minded coach, and for years, Minnesota's game has been strong defense, while guys like Kirill Kaprizov lead the offense. Kaprizov has been crap this year. So is Matt Boldy. They've been pretty bad offensively. And without them driving the offense, it falls on the defense. But the defense has been atrocious as well this year, which is why Woods got dismissed along with Evison. But I just don't buy John Hines being the guy to turn it around, because as I was just pointing out, there's a lot more problems going on than just the coaching and the defense right now. It is a lot of things going wrong in Minnesota.
And similar to Edmonton, they can't get a save. Mm-hmm. Their Philip Gustafsson has an .881 save percentage, and he's the good one of the two. Fleury has an .875. Yeah. Like there's so many similarities that you see there in Edmonton with it, especially just the fact that on paper the team should be a lot better. Their goaltending's not doing them any favors. It's the old adage to it. It's goaltending 70% of the game unless you don't have it, in which case it becomes 100% of the game. Like, they don't need players to go in there and seal the game and stand on their head every night. But if they had league average goaltending, then they would be nowhere near this kind of a situation.
Yeah, what? I think they have less wins now than the San Jose Sharks, right?
Less regulation wins. Yes.
Okay.
And it's happened to them all season. They gave up 7 goals to Toronto. They gave up 7 to the Kings. They gave up 6 to the Flyers. They gave up 8 to Dallas. Like, Yeah, it's so you're probably gonna end up losing that game anyway if you're in that position. But to not even have it be close on that aspect is really, really troubling. And I don't know that changing the head coach is going to fix that, but I don't, with the way a lot of these player deals work, I don't know that there was a lot else that the Wild could do. And Arizona is currently 2 games up on them, so they clearly had to do something.
Yeah, I mean, the coach is always going to be the one that take the fall right away. It's always going to be that if you have to make a change right now to try and kickstart the team, the coach is unfortunately going to be the one, whether it's right or wrong. I, sure, Dean Evison might have, lasted longer than he should have, outstayed his expiration date there. Sure, you could put the blame on him, but I think that with Kaprizov and Boldy not doing what they need to do offensively and the defense failing, it's showing that the depth of this team is not where they thought it was. This is a team that felt they were contenders, and right now is showing they're not, and is struggling. And it doesn't help with all that dead cap space on the books as well, because they're not overcoming that right now with the fact that they don't really have that depth.
But they've been competitive with that dead cap space before, though. They weren't cup contenders with it, but they haven't been one to let it be an excuse.
No. But do you think it finally caught up to them? Because when you've got guys, as much as I love like Matt Zuccarello, but you've got guys that are now, this is what they're all 2 years older now with this dead cap still there. Yeah. So it's like what we say with teams like the Islanders, not to circle them into this, but those teams that are just, or the Capitals, they're older teams. Eventually it starts to catch up to you. And as the season progresses,
times undefeated.
It is. Look, I'm 36 and we're going to talk about a 36-year-old here in a minute. And I was having just because it was cold today, my hip was hurting. So I can't imagine being a 36, 37-year-old hockey player or a 38-year-old goalie trying to play like I'm still in my late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah, and as you pointed out for it, they've had a number of things that haven't worked out great. Marco Rossi being part of it, that's supposed to be like a top tier prospect that is looking a lot closer to being an Eli Tolvanen than he is an Elias Pettersson.
Didn't they lock him up they locked him up for some money, right? Isn't he kind of?
I think they did. I mean, I felt like that was halfway decent for them as far as like strategically to do, but no, who am I thinking of? Marco Rossi is on the second year of a 3-year.
Okay. So then, no, that's not who am I thinking then? I thought they locked up one of their younger players that could have been on a restricted free agent contract that maybe I might be.
Now this is bothering me.
Yeah, this is bothering me now that I threw something out there that I'm not 100% on now. Now that really bugs me because I could have sworn it was that they were having that issue.
It may have been Joel Eriksson Ek or Matthew Boldy.
Boldy.
Matthew Boldy's 22, so
that's who I'm thinking. Boldy.
Yeah, but for what they have there, like I don't know what you can afford to move there to try to bring in better goaltending, or how you can change the defensive structure to get more out of what you've already got. I mean, your big acquisitions for defense up to this point have been Alex Goligoski, John Merrill, who's 31, and they just brought in Zach Bogosian, who played with Chris Chelios. So
Atlanta still had a hockey team.
When you bring in one of the former Atlanta Thrashers still left in the league, you might be scraping the bottom of the barrel there. As much as I like Zach Bogosian in that sense. So I don't know what else you would be able to do to try to fix anything with this. You might just have to lean into it, get the benefit from the draft here, and hopefully surround Kirill with some better talent in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think that's where I think that might be where they are. Like, because at this point now we're beyond Thanksgiving, where they say if you're in the playoffs at Thanksgiving, it's over 70%, you're going to make the playoffs. bad teams have turned it around and gotten into the playoffs post Thanksgiving when sitting on the outside. But when you considered yourself not just a playoff contender, but a cup contender, and you are now competing with the San Jose Sharks, and you're one of the worst 3 teams in the league, that's not a good situation. And as you saying, there's no easy fix here. There's no Bill Guerin can just get on the phone with somebody and make a trade happen and make it work cap wise. They're in a tough spot. Like, this is the team. This is what you got. And right now, this season, it is not clicking. It's not working. Maybe John Hines comes in and turns it around, but I have zero faith that the guy that many people looked at as the reason Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier weren't becoming the players that they were. And then all of a sudden, Jack Hughes, the first year after Hines is gone, and they bring in Lindy Ruff, all of a sudden he becomes one of the best players in the world. Like, so I don't think John Hines is the guy that's going to all of a sudden crack the offense for them and get Kaprizov and Boldy going.
Let me ask you this.
Okay. And Nashville
who they have down?
Couldn't get rid of him quicker as well.
Yeah, that too. You know who they have down in Iowa right now? Their AHL team? Jesper Wallstedt. Remember Jesper Wallstedt being drafted in the first round, which you never see happen with a goaltender since like Carey Price? Not saying he's quite on the Carey Price level, but he's up there. Yeah, I would be hesitant to do something like this, but I think you have to consider bringing him up and giving him a shot. He has a .928 save percentage in the AHL right now, and it's difficult to imagine he would be worse than what you have right now. But you are really rolling the dice messing with a goalie's confidence like that if you bring him into the NHL and he gets absolutely
well,
shot.
I mean, just look at Buffalo.
I would maybe bring him up to play against like San Jose, Chicago, that kind of
the
team.
teams you're playing against for that number 1 pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to be, I'm sorry, Minnesota fans. I'm sorry, Wild fans. It's not going to be fun. I'm curious to see what Bill Guerin does do as the season progresses. Because there are some guys there that, you know, I don't know. I didn't look at Cap Friendly, so I don't know how many people are on their final year of their deals and stuff like that. But I know like Zuccarello re-signed a 2-year deal. But anybody that's on a 2-year deal is kind of movable. It's when you're on like 3-4 plus years, or you see that red arrow, that it's like they ain't moving.
Yeah, they only have 2 red arrow deals,
Okay,
and that's better than most teams. Matthew Boldy's one of them. Joel Eriksson X the other one. Other than that, everything else has potential. The person I would really have an eye on is Jake Middleton. He's a very good stay-at-home type of defenseman. He has 2 years left at 2.45. Yeah, so
that is doable for any team at the deadline this year.
Yeah, that would be something I have my eye on if I were calling him up here recently. Or, you know, if you want to be the last bastion of Marc-Andre Fleury, he is in the last year of his deal. This is probably
okay, yeah, that makes sense. I was like, I know, I couldn't remember where Fleury's contract was, but I could see him being moved just on the basis of, you know, a team playoff contender might just want that backup goalie, or want somebody, hey, you know, who knows, maybe the Devils. They're in desperate need of some right now. Why not take on Fleury?
They need
something.
They need something.
They need something. I don't even have them on right now. They're playing the Islanders as we record this. So that's definitely an interesting game right there, because those are 2 teams that are trying to get their seasons going. And the Islanders have been playing better, not to totally crap on the Islanders, which I've been accused of in the past, even though I try to be very friendly to them. But it's hard to be friendly to a team being constructed by an 80-year-old guy that still thinks it's the 80s. But we'll see.
Yeah, the Devils getting Nico Hischier back here, I think, is really going to help them. Kind of similar to you saw Tampa Bay got Andre
Yeah,
Vasilevsky
yeah,
back
he's back.
as well. So I would kind of expect both of them to kind of get back to what we expected out of them this
Yeah.
year.
Sticking with Flurry though for a second, just to wrap up with the Wild, I do want to give Flower props. He pretty much called Gary Bettman's bluff this past week. So if you didn't see what happened, folks, Marc-Andre Fleury just defied the NHL's rules on the crap that they passed before the season of nobody can express anything anymore because we take all the fun out of the league. It's Native American Heritage Night. Marc-Andre Fleury's wife is a registered member of a tribe in Canada. So he had an awesome custom designed mask for the game, but the NHL, under their new rules, said, no, you can't wear that mask. Fleury said, yeah, you think so? Watch what happens. Wore the mask during the game, and the NHL's response was, we're not going to do anything about it.
And it wasn't just the blanket ban that they put out earlier this year. Supposedly, I haven't read this a ton of places, but supposedly the NHL did specifically tell him he'd face a fine for doing
Yeah, they threatened him. They threatened him first.
Yeah, to which I don't know who would have passed around the hat to pay that faster, the Minnesota Wild team or their fans.
I would have kicked in on a GoFundMe on that. This is one of your best goalies. This is a Hall of Fame goalie right here. I have seen some people online try and crap on Fleury. And listen, I'm a Rangers fan. All right, I got to watch this guy torment me on the Penguins for years. I love when playoff Fleury shows up. It was fun to go, ha ha ha, look at that guy gave up 7 goals on 8 shots. He looks like Rick DiPietro out there. Insert whatever bad goalie you want to bring up from the past. But this is a Hall of Fame goalie. This is a guy that's loved by the league. And at this point of his career, if you're hating on him, take a look in the mirror. There's something wrong with you. So for the league to threaten him, I would have lined up to pay that guy's fine. I don't even make that much money. I know I threw out how much I paid for Billy Joel, but trust me, I'm going to be paying for that until 2024. All right.
Yeah. And it's also worth mentioning it hasn't gotten nearly as much traction for it because I don't think he got threatened individually, but Sergei Bobrovsky was told he can't wear a Hockey Fights Cancer mask for a game, and he did it anyway. And it's been an ongoing thing. It's a lot easier for goalies to be expressive than it is the rest of the skaters because of their equipment. But like Logan Thompson couldn't put a cancer ribbon on his mask. So like it's just this. I thought that after Travis Dermott wearing the pride tape for a game, this would just kind of go away. It's like, all right, the point has been made, but if they're threatening future Hall of Fame goalies, it clearly isn't. So the NHL's got to come up with a solution for this at some point. And I still think the best move is that thing like they do in the NFL or NBA where they just have a designated set of games that everyone's encouraged to wear some sort of cause for and just go from there.
Yeah, that would be the easiest way to fix the situation, but it's the NHL. It's a no fun league, all right? Gary Bettman does not like fun, all right? We do not like fun in our league here. It is not a league where you express yourself. You should just sit there, be grateful that I allow you to play in this league. I love the fact that
I feel like I would end up on some sort of hate list if I did that voice for stereotyping, but
I do get a pass. Thank you. Thank you, Heritage.
If you haven't seen the mask, by all means, Google it. Like goalie masks always look cool, but this is pretty.
I love this mask, but I do love that. I love that the players are calling the bluff of the league. And it embarrasses the league. And I know we're doing a show about hockey, but I love the fact that the players are embarrassing Gary Bettman in the NHL right now. Because this policy was crap to begin with. We all said, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? What's the point? Are you really going to punish players if they express themselves? If they use pride tape? Are you really going to find somebody for that? Because guess what? The PR is going to be worse than it is now.
And out of in the same breath, they'll tell you that they encourage players to express themselves because that brings a lot of good publicity and very positive attention to the league that they would like to have. I'm pretty sure Marc-Andre Fleury doing this, and a reason he didn't get a fine for it, is because that he brought a lot of good attention to this and raised a ton of money having the mask auctioned off for this cause. Now, if someone goes out there, I like Ryan Lambert threw out the idea of like someone wearing like a Chinese flag on their mask or something like that might cause like an issue. Or I would think even if you had like a free Tibet phrase or something like that on your mask, that might actually incur a fine. But I don't know.
Well, but those are, I don't want to say those are different because, Tibet.
Aside from being an absurd hypothetical.
Yeah, but like, yes, if somebody all of a sudden decides they're going to put an ISIS flag on their equipment, yeah, that's an issue. That's obviously an issue.
Yeah.
Like if you're just intending to try and like nobody's people that are upset over rainbow tape. I don't even want to get into that.
We've done that to death.
But anybody that's upset over somebody wearing a mask to honor their wife and their heritage, come on, like really, this is the hill that Gary Bettman and the NHL want to die on. Like this is where the league wants to draw its line. Like, oh, how dare we? How dare you support your wife? Doesn't help. Doesn't help, especially as well, where we didn't talk about it. I know we didn't write it down. Where you're in a league with Milan Lucic.
We didn't
write it down because it happened last week. It was going to be on last week's show until I was like, "Hey, I suck at time management because I have ADD."
Don't we all? Don't we?
Yeah. So yeah, it doesn't help your cause. Like, I don't know. I know that's a kind of an extreme hypothetical as well, where you're like, well, he didn't support his wife, and then you got to beat the crap out of his wife.
Not to gloss over it, Bruins veteran Milan Lucic is facing assault and battery on family member charges. Happy Thanksgiving!
I mean, nothing says the holidays more than family domestic violence, right?
I mean, we all want to commit domestic violence around the holidays. You're not allowed to actually do it.
Okay, that was John being very sarcastic. I want that noted. Okay, I want that noted for the record. That's sarcasm, folks.
But yeah, he did enter the player assistance program. Hopefully he's getting the help that he needs. He is away from the team, probably suspended indefinitely for something like this. He has pleaded not guilty at his arraignment, and hopefully his family's okay in all of this as well.
Which reminds me, how did your family Thanksgiving go? Didn't you guys host?
No, not this year. We drove up to Michigan. It was very uneventful.
Okay. Good. There was no Milan Lucic moment. Good. That situation though, that's not a good one. Obviously,
I hope no one listens to this podcast. That was a dumb thing of me to say.
A few people do. That's why I noted it. That's why I noted the joke, folks. Okay.
But hey, if someone does, I'll Jacob Trouba. I'll own it. I'll say it was bad.
But yeah, that was not a good situation. The Lucic one. I guess we're gonna have to wait to see what really unfolds with that as more comes out on that. But when that news broke, it was just sucked. It sucked. It sucked not because I like the guy or anything like that, but because you don't want to hear that type of story. You just don't. It sucked.
Yeah, despite us seeming to have like a quota we have to fill for depressing stories.
Well, speaking of depressing stories in hockey, and what the hell happened, Chicago. Let's go to Chicago. Let's go to the thing that originally was at the top of our show list. But man, like I said, it's been a crazy past few days in news. And not early on Tuesday, I guess late Tuesday afternoon, we found out Chicago's placed Corey Perry on waivers and intend to terminate his contract after determining he engaged in, quote, unacceptable conduct. That was according to the team, as they did an internal investigation into his conduct, did not provide any additional details. But over the weekend, GM Kyle Davidson said that Perry would be away from the team for the foreseeable future, specified the forward's continued absence was Chicago's decision rather than Perry's. Perry's agent, Pat Morris, said that Corey stepped away to attend to personal matters. All I got to say is, if you are getting waived with the intent to be let go of your contract in Chicago, what the hell did you do?
Yeah, because he may have murdered someone. I don't think we can rule it out.
If Chicago's releasing you, yeah.
Yeah, so some of the words, I won't read you like Kyle Davidson's entire statement, not to be confused with Pete Davidson, like I did before we started recording.
You were watching Get Murdered
General
2
Manager
earlier.
Pete
That's
Davidson.
what it was.
Some of the words that used to describe whatever it is he did was unacceptable, disturbing, it violated policies that are, quote, intended to promote professional and safe work environments. He was asked if this was a criminal matter or could become a criminal matter. He didn't really say yes or no on that. But yeah, so there's but remember when I told you that lawsuit coming out could be a really big opportunity for the Blackhawks to prove that they have changed and prove that they have done something different. Got the guy away from the team. They're taking steps to terminate his contract. Obviously, we are wildly speculating here, but if he did something kind of similar to that sort of assault situation that they've been in the news for, this is a Blackhawks demonstrating that they're doing things different.
I didn't even think about that, how you mentioned that. Yeah, there's a moment here for Chicago to take those steps forward and show that they have changed. But it does, because, and yes, this is all going to be speculation, and I've seen the speculation of what had happened, and people doing it's essentially the Charlie from the meme from It's Always Sunny of Charlie screaming at the board.
Do you want to say what the rumor was on Twitter? Because I don't know that I do.
So the rumor on Twitter that I actually am 100% behind,
unfounded, unsubstantiated,
and members of the Chicago media have said this did not happen. But, the media tends to sometimes cover some things up and lie sometimes, or, gloss over certain things. But the rumors on Wine, so the mothers were traveling with the team, coming on out, how they do the mothers and the fathers, and the teams welcome them out, and they go on road trips. The moms came out. Rumor has it, following one of the nights of the moms being on the road with the team, Corey Perry and Connor Bedard's mom got it on. Woo-wee! Allegedly. So that's allegedly the rumor. And what started all of this, that's why Corey Perry is no longer with the team. He banged Connor Bedard's mom. Took the "we signed Corey Perry to be a father figure to Connor Bedard," literally. So online,
not the stepdad, but the dad that stepped up.
So online has been quite amusing with this theory, so to say, where I've seen people sharing the Heath Ledger's Joker with the poor choice of words, where it's like, when Chicago asked you to be the father figure to Connor Bedard. So, yes, people have been very amusing. But again, this is all unfounded claims. I don't know I really do think it was one of those, like, It's Always Sunny meme things where it was somebody just was like, oh, the moms were there, and then all of a sudden, after that first game of the moms there, Corey Perry is booted from being with the team. Like, oh, it's got to be this, it's got to be that, because everybody and their children drooled over Connor Bedard's mom, weirdly. I find that crap so weird. Um,
Yeah, just taking someone because of their relation to a player and objectifying them
yeah,
is really
it's
gross.
gross to do that to the
Uh,
kid's mom. Like the kid sees it. Like, come on.
and, and for his sake, God, I hope this is 0% true, because for that to happen your rookie season is something you will never live down. But
it's kind
it's
of
worth
funny
mentioning.
as well. I'm sorry, it is kind of funny.
I mean, I don't think we'd keep talking about it this way if it wasn't.
Dude,
But
my wife laughed when
also
I told her. I was like, "Yo, one of the guys on Chicago might have banged the rookie's mom," and she was like, "What?" Chuckled, and she's like, "That's not funny." It kind of is.
but you have to remember as well that during the Blackhawks dynasty of 10 years ago, there was a rumor similar to this going around regarding Patrick Sharp and Duncan Keith's wife. And they didn't trade him or terminate his contract from the team. So this wasn't even something I genuinely remembered until I started reading about this.
Till I brought to your attention,
yeah.
Yo! Did you see the rumor?
Yeah, so I doubt it's this, but this is kind of on the Blackhawks for this rumor coming to light, because if they just came out and said why he was taking time away from the team, why his contract's being terminated, then there would be no room for speculation like this. And as soon as you shoot one rumor down, another one's going to pop right back up. But at the same time, their hands might be tied on it. But at least the general manager took time today to sit down, have an actual press conference. It didn't look like he could say much, but he said what he could. Like, he may be doing his best in a bad situation.
Yeah. To pull back the joking on this, and to get to the seriousness of it. Yeah, the words spoken by Kyle Davidson indicate that something more happened. Something much more happened. And for Chicago to take action, we've seen it before in the past with not even with moms. I'm trying to remember the Mark Stone situation, right? Was it Stone?
Mike Hoffman.
Thank you. The Hoffman situation, where you had player's wife and player's fiance or girlfriend at the time. I can't. It's all getting a little blurred on it. But the concept was, they traded away a guy when his partner made some crap for somebody else's partner on the team, and they valued that player obviously a lot more. They felt he was a part, so they booted Hoffman and shipped him off to Canada, I believe it was, or something like that. They shipped him off.
I want to say he went to the Sharks, and then the Sharks flipped him to Florida.
There you go. That makes more sense. So if it's things like that, if it was simply I hooked up with the kid's mom, they would have just found a way to ship him out. It would not have led to, you broke rules and this is unacceptable, and we have grounds where we can actually terminate your contract now. Because that's the other thing you got to remember too with this. It's pretty hard to find grounds to terminate a contract in the NHL when you have the NHL Players Association ready to pounce at every second. Think about how hard it was to get Evander Kane's contract, and we knew what the guy had done. It was all out there.
And there was still a big grievance process with that got settled somehow, and I'm not 100% certain how it got settled. But yeah, that's a good point. For actual bad behavior, it was difficult to get that taken care of. So again, for this to happen to Corey Perry, for this to happen with the Blackhawks, like, whatever happened has got to be pretty bad.
Yeah, and I kind of want to take a shot at Corey Perry here really quickly. Sorry, couldn't have happened to a better guy. I'm not a big Corey Perry fan.
Of course not.
I think he's a prick. So I kind of, I say that though without knowing what fully happened, and I hope it's not. I hope that word doesn't come back to that comes back to bite me in the ass, which it could.
God, I hope this isn't an addiction issue.
Yeah, right.
What?
Oh, God, don't do that. Don't put that on me. Find out.
Okay, things we might have to revisit next episode. John thinks domestic violence is funny, and Nick makes fun of addiction.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I try to give credit to the Blackhawks with this, and you know me, I don't like to be associated with anything with the Blackhawks, especially not on the Detroit Red Wings.
No, you do not. And that's a good segue into your newest member, as we finally know the Patrick Kane situation. The sweepstakes is over. I saw Emily Kaplan break the story, but I guess everybody kind of was breaking it at the same time. But Emily Kaplan was the one I saw the tweet of this morning. Patrick Kane resuming his career with the Detroit Red Wings. We know it's a 1-year contract, $2.5 million. Plenty of teams were in on him. I saw the Athletic said the Rangers, but Larry Brooks dismissed the Rangers weeks ago, and I knew I didn't want the Rangers to be in on him. I felt the teams that were in on him, the Wings, the Sabres, and the Leafs. I did see the Panthers' name was thrown in there as well, which makes sense.
Yeah, Panthers were thrown out there. The Avalanche was thrown out there. I thought the Avalanche would have been a really good landing spot.
But Detroit.
But yeah, So going right along with this, Jonathan Berggren's getting called up from the AHL, who's been doing really well there as kind of a depth winger option for the Red Wings. But yeah, I didn't want this to happen. I was fully prepared to be upset at this happening. But then you see it's 1 year, $2.75 million, and he is wholeheartedly not expecting to play in the top 6. It's kind of like, all right, man, like that.
Yeah,
that
but do you think but do you really think he's not going to be playing in the top 6? Because I feel like and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the Red Wings need top 6 help, even though DeBrincat is crushing it and the team is scoring goals and doing a great job at that. It seems like if
you must have stopped betting on him.
But I know, right? The minute I stopped betting on DeBrincat, he went off on a spree again. But I felt like that was a signing of we're hoping to get the old Patrick Kane top 6 minutes and put him back out there with DeBrincat, reunite him with DeBrincat, who he played with. So I thought this was a top 6 thing. I thought this was we don't need to make a trade to try and add a top 6 forward, which would help us and help the depth and help the goal scoring at a better pace. Even though, again, Detroit, I think you guys are 5th at goal scoring or something like that this year.
Yeah, they are maintaining a surprisingly good pace this year. Where everyone, including me, said the Senators and the Sabres would be way outpaced for them. I am curious to see how upset Sabres fans are that he picked Detroit over them. But
he doesn't have he doesn't have good memories in Buffalo.
Yeah, if
that's your issue now, buddy.
I think if anyone had a good look at the standings, they would pretty easily understand why he would make that choice. But it seems very low risk for Detroit. There hasn't been a lot of players that have had this type of surgery before. I want to say Ryan Kessler had it and it ended his career. Nicholas Backstrom definitely had it. And then old name that may resonate with you, Ed Jovanovski, the defenseman, had it. But I'm sure they've made a progress or two in medicine since he had it. So that's not to say he can't be the first to come back and be halfway decent from it. But, if he's not, you can just throw him on LTIR for the year. And like I said, the Red Wings had very little to lose.
It is definitely low risk, high reward for Detroit. But you said a lot of what I was going to bring up with he's a 35-year-old winger that just got a surgery, a hip resurfacing surgery that nobody has been able to come back from. The best comparison we can make right now is Backstrom, who just returned from that last year, was like, hey, you know what? I'm coming back in 2022, 2023, or 2023, 2024, and I'm going to be completely healthy, and has had to step away, and his career is probably done. That's probably it for him in Washington. You're right. Somebody eventually is going to have to be the one to show, oh, you can come back from this and still be a halfway decent player. I just don't know if it's going to be 35-year-old Patrick Kane. If this was somebody in their
Yeah.
20s, I might be a little more like, okay, there's a possibility.
Oh yeah, if he was in his 20s, I'd be over the moon at
Yeah,
this signing.
but 35?
But yeah, I think you just have to go into it with very tempered expectations. He's not going to be on a line with Larkin and DeBrincat, although Larkin did grow up idolizing Patrick Kane, so I'm sure he is over the moon to have the chance to play with him. But if you throw him on that second power play unit, I think he could probably do some damage there. And then you don't have to worry about defensive accountability as much or anything like that. But I just don't think anyone should be surprised if his line mates, are Andrew Kopp or JT Comp or someone like that rather than
get ready for that defense. Let me tell you, it's something to watch, that Patrick Kane defense. I did want to ask you. Obviously, Kane, you threw it out. He didn't pick the Sabres. He wanted to pick a team that gave him the best chance to chase another cup. Is it really the Red Wings?
It may have been the Red Wings as far as teams that were willing to pay him more than league minimum and a chance to go after the cup. But yeah, I would not be at all surprised if he played out this year with the Red Wings and from there very much just kind of departed from them. Prove to the rest of the league that he can still play at a high level, that he can still contribute something, and then go somewhere that's going to give him the best shot at winning a cup.
Yeah, then he goes to the Maple Leafs to collect his fourth original 6 sweater, because he's Thanos, man. He's got to collect all those original 6 sweaters.
No, we'll anticipate Kane being traded to the Bruins at the deadline.
Oh my God, I would feel so bad for you if after the Patrick Kane signing that caused the downfall for Detroit. I would be so pissed for you, because I love the fact that right now, tomorrow night, you and I, enemies. We're enemies. We're not podcasts.
Patrick Kane faces his former team.
Yeah, I'm not.
And they better have a tribute video.
I cannot wait for Jacob Trouba to lay out a shoulder hit to him, and it busts that hip resurfaced. Right?
I wouldn't be.
Man, this is a salty episode. This is a really.
It is.
Let's see, we've cracked some jokes, and now I'm sitting here like, I hope Trouba trade runs him down. Welcome back to New York, Showtime.
You are as salty as an NHL All-Star being picked last in the draft.
Oh, well, that's not going to happen anymore, buddy. There is no person being picked last. So, yeah, that's a great segue into the All-Star game. Last thing that I've got on my rundown this week, but the All-Star game announcement happened on Monday. Expanded to a 3-day event, and I'm actually pretty into a lot of this. So what they announced is the festivities are going to begin February 1st, 2024 at Scotiabank Arena for the Maple Leafs. The first day is going to feature the return of the All-Star Player Draft, 4 captains choosing their teams with the help of a celebrity co-captain. The NHL...
I am cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, I can't wait to discuss that in a second. The NHL Alumni Man of the Year, which is going to honor the 67 Maple Leafs team. And the PWHL 3-on-3 Showcase will also take place on February 1st. The All-Star competition is going to take place on February 2nd. And then the weekend closes with the All-Star game on February 3rd. Love the Women's Hockey League involvement.
Yes.
Love this. I cannot scream from the mountains enough how much I love it. I want to Ron Burgundy this right now. That's how much I love that.
Women's hockey will be readily available and easy to watch, and I am here for it. And we have said for years the NHL needed to get behind them and support them, and it was one thing to have Kendall Coyne Schofield skate faster than everybody else and not get money for it.
That would hurt somebody's feelings.
Oh, of course. But this is a big deal, especially given where they're coming at with it. Now that there's one league, they said that they would put something behind it, and they are giving them a chance to show off. and I think that's going to be awesome to have. I also think it's going to be awesome to have the draft back again, especially if the players are a little bit socially lubricated, so to speak, like they were the last few. That there's the worry about what it's like when you put some of these personality-less players in a situation like that to exhibit personality. But it's a different generation of players.
Yeah.
So hopefully when given the opportunity like this, they will not disappoint.
Yeah, the player draft thing, I never liked. I loved the player draft when they did it. I actually very much remember. So what was cool about the player draft and what made me really fall in love with it, and again, I'll probably be reamed as a homer for this one, but one of the years where Dan Girardi with the Rangers actually went to the All-Star game. Girardi was not drafted. So he never got that moment of hearing a name call at a draft and getting to put on a jersey. And he talked about how cool it was to get to do that because he was just signed.
That's sick.
He was just the guy that signed.
I didn't even think about that. That's a really good point.
So there are some players that end up going that never had a draft day, never got to go on a stage and do that welcome to the team. And yes, it's an all-star game. It doesn't really matter. It's just a little stupid extra money for people to win. It doesn't really matter to these players. It's why we all voted for John Scott to make the all-star team. Because we were like, F you, this is funny. Like, we're gonna have fun with this. Screw you, Gary Bettman. So I love that the draft is back. And I did love the old school ones. I loved when Ovechkin was like, no, I want to win a car. Don't stop. Don't like, I want to win a car. I'm like watching Ovi be a politician and learn from his days in Washington to be like, don't draft me. That was funny.
And again, a little juice.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah. I loved the awkward Phil Kessel year.
People brought that
the
up.
Phil Kessel year is so funny.
And Brian Burke thought Phil Kessel was so disrespected for there. He wasn't picked last because they thought he was a bad player. Phil Kessel got picked last because all the other players thought he was a dick. Like,
he didn't share his hot dogs in the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, it's simple as that. But now they're just, the last four are just going to be, assigned rather than letting there be someone picked last so we don't hurt anybody's feelings this generation. But then I'm cautiously optimistic for the celebrity co-captain. And this is something I really wanted to talk with you about because obviously you can aim really low with something like this. You can get someone that knows only one team. You can get somebody that is very tangentially connected to it. Or, like the rumor is, one of the captains is going to be Austin Matthews with his celebrity co-star, Justin Bieber. If you nailed that, as far as celebrities go, that's.
I mean, I will. As much as I say, Justin Bieber has a big following. It's enough to draw in eyes that would never pay attention to hockey, would pay attention to what was happening with that. But I am curious with the celebrity thing because one thing the NHL has shown over the years is the lack of star power that they can pull for things. So I was kind of expecting like Carrot Top to show up. Somebody like that.
That's the concern.
Yeah, that's my concern.
That's the concern, that you get some C-tier comedian that barely anyone's ever heard of, or what would be even worse is someone that's like Toronto famous, but not like United States famous.
I don't know. Now that you say that, since it's in Toronto, actually, I have a good feel. You say Bieber. I could see Mike Myers being there.
I could see Mike Myers being there for sure.
I actually had written down Stranger Things
because you talked to him.
Yes, I did talk to Noah. I asked him a question about being at Rangers games and doing stuff with the Rangers, Noah Schnapp. And then I blame myself for asking that question and why they blew the series to the Lightning that year. you know,
Cause and
yeah,
effect.
exactly. It's the
Um,
stupid I ruined the magic because I asked that question. But no, I was thinking like Gatton
yeah.
actually from the show because he's a bit
Okay.
he goes to a lot of Rangers games. I could see like David Harbour as well from Stranger Things. Those guys all like really frequent hockey games.
I now see. I had a different New York Ranger fan in mind,
Margot Robbie?
and it's hard to say if she would have the availability to do it. But I think Margot Robbie, would be happy to collect a personal appearance fee and chug a beer at the draft.
I would welcome Harley Quinn being there. I love that Margot Robbie is on your mind. She's always on mine. But I mean, there are plenty of like. I actually was weirdly like in my head. I was like, oh, maybe Will Ferrell shows up to that because he's a big.
Will Ferrell was top of mind too, but like if you're gonna do the All-Star game though, you have to know like the rest of the league. You can't just know
Exactly.
one team. Like does Jenna Fisher know like and John Hamm, do they know the rest of the league or do they just know the Blues? I have no idea.
Yeah, and that's
does Vince Vaughn know all the teams or does he just know the Blackhawks? I could not tell you.
That was my thing with the when I wrote down like Noah and Gatton and David on here, and I was like Stranger Things them. I was like they only go to Ranger games. That like okay, I know I like having asked Noah that question at Awesome Con when I saw him. He is a hockey fan because he said that like he grew up watching hockey, like his dad grew up watching Hockey Night in Canada, so it was something that like he was exposed to. He just picked his own team, and it was the Rangers that he picked. So it's like okay, he probably knows hockey, but how much does Gatton know? How much? And you're right. How much does John Hamm or Jenna Fisher know? Like, but all these teams do have celebrity fans. Like we know that there's plenty of celebrities that love hockey.
Ariana Grande rode on a Zamboni at a Florida Panthers game.
If you didn't know that,
I say it's time for us to recreate.
Oh my god,
celebrity co-captain we don't need.
I hate you.
Celebrity co-captain that we don't need. Speaking of the Florida Panthers, Kodak.
Oh no,
can't have it. Not again. Never again. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it. Thank you later.
That's a great one as well. But yeah, there's like my fear is that they're gonna get bare naked ladies.
Yeah, or like Liam Neeson.
I mean, I wouldn't mind the Liam Neeson thing as well. Actually, I forgot he's a big Rangers fan. But
I think a number of black players in the league might.
Hey, did you not go watch the Atlanta scene I told you to go watch with him? No. Donald Glover reached out to him as a way to kind of help bridge to help. Okay. He makes an appearance on Atlanta, and he literally jokes that. And he didn't want to do it because of how much crap he got into. And he was like, I can't. And Donald Glover actually called him and was like, no, this, you should do this because this will help you repair your image and show people that you are sorry. But he does, to spoil the scene a little bit, he ends up meeting Donald Glover's character like in a bar and they're talking to him and he brings it up and he's like, yeah, everything was great until you people. Like one of those where like they played into it hardcore.
Nice.
And yeah, that apparently caused a lot of like where people were like, okay, you screwed up, but and I was like, that's weird that
yeah.
But okay, I guess if anybody's gonna do it, it's gonna be the guy from Community.
you know, another person I really hope they don't get to do this is Chance the Rapper.
Oh yeah. And you know what? It probably would be, and it's like, but the joke with Chance the Rapper was that he doesn't know hockey. Like,
yeah, and so like, and of course the NHL is just excited to be referenced in anything and be remotely relevant, and it's like, yeah, we like that as like an inside thing, but like kind of for the wrong reasons.
It was funny. It was super funny because of the fact that like it was funny to hockey fans because we know people don't really know it. It was funny to non-hockey fans because it was acknowledging what they don't know. So it pulled everybody in.
Yeah.
But it's not the thing you should be hanging your hat on if you get it.
Yeah,
they don't realize it just doesn't. A joke on them.
Yeah, Another person I don't want to see is Drake. Speaking of Stranger Things, don't need to see Drake. And I don't think, given his association with NBA teams that lose, I don't think any of the teams want to see Drake.
Yeah. But again, Drake, like Bieber, pulls in an audience that would never have paid attention to the NHL, and just because that audience is a young audience that isn't into hockey. It's just not. It's the same with Bieber. Like, because I'm looking at it through the eyes of like when I worked in Top 40 radio, I was able to talk about, like, you could not talk about hockey because it's not universally loved. Like, you talk football on a Top 40 station that's playing pop music because everybody knows football. You could kind of mention baseball because people know it. You kind of mention basketball, but the minute I mentioned hockey, it would turn into a nope. You're threatening. Yeah, you have really lost 90% of the audience here. Nobody knows what you're talking about. So, but the only times I was able to, that's why I hate you for the Ariana Grande one, is bringing up, like, did you know she rode on a Zamboni when she was like 7 at a Florida Panthers game? And it was like, Florida has a hockey team? Yeah! South Beach has a hockey team. Too. So, you know, like, and whenever Bieber wore a hockey jersey, or you know, it was like, did you see Bieber in a hockey jersey?
Dude, I got it. I got the celebrity you need for this. Rob Gronkowski.
Oh, no. I figured it out. Now that you said it, I got an even better one. You ready for this?
Yeah. Is he going to teach the players how to have a personality and market themselves?
Probably. These two would. You get Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift.
Oh, no. I don't think the NHL could afford the appearance fee for that.
They'll do it out of the kindness of their heart.
Oh, yeah, for the love of the game.
Yeah, Travis Kelce, #1 song on iTunes with his brother for their Christmas song. It happened after so the Eagles recorded a Christmas album, and Travis appeared with Jason on one of the songs, and that song, once it dropped, went to #1 on iTunes. Yep, that's the state of the world.
Good for him, I guess.
I guess, I mean, when you date Taylor Swift, you really let it go to your head. I can sing now. No, you can't. No. I'm trying to think of other hockey fans, because what sucks
if Eddie Murphy couldn't do it.
Eddie Murphy's song, when it was a Billboard hit, baby. Party all the time. Party all the time. Woo. I'm trying to think of other, because, like, again, like, unfortunately, when I think hockey fans, I would love Michael J. Fox, but I don't think, you know, that's that's one cost, and two, does he want to go do that? Because he's very picky on what he goes and does these days.
Yeah, and just like, we shouldn't be reaching back to the 90s for fans of those things.
That's unfortunately where I feel this could go. Like, I'll tell you one person that absolutely would have been there for this if they didn't pass away this year is Matthew Perry. Absolutely. They would have 100% grabbed Matthew Perry. I would have put, to me, I would have set those odds of him being there at such a, like, you're going to lose money if you bet on this one, because he's definitely going to be there.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, I wonder if they put out betting odds for it.
They should. That would be fun. Degenerates like myself would totally bet on that. Hell, I should just start a pool. Who do you think's gonna be the 4 celebrities? The 4 celebrity co-captains. Because I imagine it would be 4, since there's 4 captains and then 4 co-captains.
Yeah, 4 divisions, 4 teams.
And that easy. Well, and that's the other thing too. Do you grab? So is this? Are we gonna grab a celebrity that knows the league and we stick them just with a team, or is it going to be, all right, say the captain is somebody from Vegas, so grab a Vegas celebrity. Here comes Penn Jillette. You know, like
John Taffer.
Yeah. Oh my God, dude. Stop giving me...
The defense is porous.
Stop giving me things that I'm not
You need to shut this team down.
Don't give me things I'm not going to get. Now I want
John Taffer had Ryan Reeves and I want to say William Carlson. It may have been another player, but they showed up on an episode of Bar Rescue. John Taffer is all in on the Golden Knights. I think that could happen.
that would be cool. I would welcome that. I was thinking somebody that like has a residency in Vegas. Like, here's Adele. Like, what? Why? What? But again, that would draw in an audience that doesn't typically watch hockey.
Yeah,
because the Devil's crowd is definitely not. I don't know. She does have the mouth of a hockey player, so maybe.
As long as we're not, but like we said, we don't want like David Putty.
Yeah, dude, Dave Cole. Now that you said David Putty, Dave Collier is definitely going to be there. Yeah. Again, we're reaching back into the 80s and 90s. Like that's typical hockey.
Yeah.
Or watch them be like, oh, here's the celebrity, Wayne Gretzky. What? Well, remember he was in Mighty Ducks 2. Emilio. We're getting Emilio. We're getting Josh. We're getting Joshua Jackson, right?
Wait, what? Yeah, what if they did it that way to where it was all celebrities related to hockey properties?
Here comes Danny Tamborelli.
Do we get some of the crew from Letterkenny to show up, perhaps?
Which Letterkenny final season drops December 26th on Hulu.
Yeah, there's only been 26 seasons. So.
I know. I'm still. I'll put it this way: as much as I love that show, I still haven't seen what happens after they went to America and Dude Man cheated on his sister and the fight, the Skids and all of them coming together to fight the Americans. I started that first episode, got like halfway through it, and was like, "I'll come back to this," and then I was like, "Oh crap! 2 more seasons have dropped."
They cranked him out, man. And he's got Shoresy going too.
Yeah,
so that's good.
Yeah, and Shoresy I haven't watched because I'm like, I haven't even finished Letterkenny yet. Going up. So I got to catch up on those like 3 seasons of Letterkenny and 2 of Shoresy.
Yeah, right. I'm still trying to get through Detroit.
All right, so that's our list of celebrities, we hope.
Yeah.
I mean, I could go on and on about the celebrities. I'm just starting to run out of like steam of who exactly is.
I think we are running out of hard drive space for recording.
That as well. This is a pretty long episode, so props to us. Is there anything else you wanted to jump on this week? I mean, I know we kind of got to everything we had talked about, but I don't know if there was anything else you jotted.
Yeah, I'm. That's all.
I can't think of anything else worth talking about. All right. Well, then on that note, John, hit him with the plug.
You can find me on Twitter at JT Evans, the number 0.
And I am on X, wonderful_radio.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Yeah. Talk to you soon.
Of May, from me home I started, left the girls, her tomb was nearly broken. Hearted saluted father dear, and kiss me darling mother, drink a pint of beer, and tears and grief to smother enough to reap the corn, leave where I was born, cut the stop the thorn of banished ghosts and goblins, brand new pair of brogues, rattling all the bugs, frightening all the dogs, on the rocky road to Dublin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on the hair a turner down the rocky road, all the way to Dublin, whack for all the dogs.